Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dark Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Super Saiyan Broly stage 5 of the seriously serious battle event in DBZ Dokkan Battle. Now this is stage 5. I've covered the inevitable showdown missions for this, which I'm sure a lot of players would have liked to complete. So technically I've already shown you twice how to actually beat this stage. But it's not just about beating the stage, it's also about beating the missions. We have 2 missions for this event. So the first is to use 6 movie bosses category units. The second one is use 6 fused fighters category units. So it's a very interesting process. I think for me personally overall, I found that the movie bosses challenge was definitely harder. The reason is because you tend to lack quite a bit of damage. The units are actually fairly tanky. We'll talk about the team a little bit more now, but the units are fairly tanky. It was actually building up and letting my units build up to get to the point where they could actually do damage. That was actually the more considerably difficult component of this. So it was just something that was super interesting to take note. Doesn't necessarily mean you'll have the same experience. Remember, I do not have the tech Frieza and Gogeta, so that also will affect my overall performance on my team and everything. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Broly because it will apply to both sets of missions. So Broly is a interesting boss. He doesn't hit super duper hard by current standards of today, where bosses hit 7, 8, 9, sometimes even 12 million, which I'm sure, as you can imagine, is absolutely ridiculous. At least to me it's ridiculous. But he definitely has some interesting quirks. So firstly, he's got 200 million health, 830k normals, 66% damage reduction, but he can fire 3 super attacks in a turn. This is pretty gnarly. He can very easily fire 3 super attacks on your very first character before they even move. So making sure that you have good slot 1s is crucial to almost any team that you bring in here. Now his supers hit for 2.5 million, which isn't too bad, but then when you couple that with the fact that he greatly raises attack for 1 turn on his super, the subsequent supers will start to progressively hit for more and more. He's immune to super attack, ceiling, stunning, and any damage below a certain amount will also be reduced to 0, which, again, as you can imagine, is not ideal. So we sit in this weird situation where we definitely are, especially with this movie bosses team, going to struggle doing damage to Broly. That's actually the biggest issue we had, because Tech Broly takes a couple turns to get going, Strength Broly takes time to get going, Janemba takes time to get going. Switching over to Frieza and Gogeta, you need to switch over to Gogeta after you use Frieza's active skill. So there's just a lot going on. My suggestion is to use the Golden Frieza's active skill, whether you use a friend or your one, pretty much as soon as possible. Use it within the first 2 turns, especially if you have 2 Friezas. That helps out a lot, makes life a lot easier. So I do suggest doing that if you do have 2 of them, because you can use that damage by placing them in the 3rd slot. So placing them right at the end of the turn, letting them get as many attacks against them as possible, and then using that big burst damage that he can do in that situation to almost set yourself up to have a pretty good time. So that's the first thing I would do for that one. Next, obviously, we talk about the fused fighters. Now, fused fighters is, I would say, easier, personally. You have a fair chunk of units that are pretty good for the event. Obviously, we have the highlight unit, AGL SS4 Gogeta. To try and create some kind of alternative guide, I will not be using SS4 Gogeta. However, my suggestion to you as a player would always be to use SS4 Gogeta. There's no reason not using him. If you have him, he's an absolute premium level unit and he will decimate this event. So definitely you should consider bringing him if you have him. Me, on the other hand, I decided to build a team without him, which did cause one or two difficulties at first, but we managed to work around it fairly simply, and so things worked out for the best. Now, the team's rotations are pretty simple. We're majority looking at having the int SS4 do as much damage as pretty much physically and humanly possible. Then we have the AGL Gogeta / Goku Vegeta Angel floating around, doing their thing, dealing out some good quick damage, making things work out very, very nicely. Then, obviously from our side, we are mainly looking at doing things like transforming the SS4s as early as possible. This also helps out a ton. We also have the Gogeta active, whether we use the Vacu active skip or whether we use the actual active itself. It's entirely up to you and your position. But once they can get set up in the second slot, they tend to do really quite well, which I think is a testimony to the AGL Goku and Vegeta. But yeah, overall, the biggest thing with this team is surviving that first couple turns before you can really start kicking all the active skills and everything, and tending to kind of get everything going. Into SS4 Gogeta is very, very crucial to that. He has absolutely massive damage, which helps a ton. Gotenks is also pretty good, provided he can get off his full passive. He can then tank. In situations where he doesn't, then he obviously struggles a little bit, so that's important to take note of. But yeah, I would say overall, this team does pretty well. You want to pair up the SS4s with the God Boys for sure. Some really nice scaling there, and then also you can obviously use their transformations when you want to have a little bit of an easier time or more burst damage. So yeah, I would say the team comes together really, really nicely. I think it worked out really good. And I think it got the mission done fairly consistently. Also without using some of the more premium level units. Hopefully making it a little bit more accessible. If you have any questions or queries, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll gladly get back to them as soon as I can. But that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and bye.